This project would not have been possible without Kumi! I had made a genuine effort to make Yu-Gi-Oh! Monsters in Mutants and Masterminds 3E before, but hadn't had the slightest clue how to convert their attack and defense into strength and stamina. But she knows Yu-Gi-Oh! The way I know Pokemon, and has aided me in cracking the code, as it were. Link to her Twitch in the description. Lady Labrynth, a being whose entire purpose is being a video game boss battle. Finding a complication wasn't easy, and it was suggested to me her world kind of resets on being defeated, or an entity known as the Knight being defeated. But for my rendition, I had a different solution, leaving the complication as the Knight herself. Their relationship is something of a good-natured rivalry, but if Lady Labrynth is to be a player character, I would encourage the Knight be sent in at the most inopportune times. The stats. How in the world did we convert attack and defense into all this? Her weapon of choice is a blade that appears heavier than any man-made sword, which she wields as easily as she would a rapier. Rounding up from one of the heaviest real-world swords gives me an estimate of 20 pounds. I'm quite comfortable giving her 7 or 8 for strength. Keep this in mind, a Yu-Gi-Oh! Monster's attack stat of 3000 will henceforth be assumed to be in the vicinity of 8, with a slightly lower defense. It's this weapon of hers, and the fact she deftly moves around traps to lure the Knight into one that leads me to believe her dexterity is well above average, same for agility. Awareness, intellect, and presence, I simply bore in mind she is a queen. On defenses, I spitballed most of these numbers, but not Fortitude. She likes to hug this thing. She cuddles a stove for fun. Not only is that adorable, that's impressive. I mentioned a grand axe that can cut down any tree she wants. Here it is, Flight 1. There are a couple of wings on her that you could be forgiven for overlooking or mistaken to be part of her dress. Movement 2, sure-footed. I normally don't use this movement for anything. To me, it makes just as much sense to raise agility, but I felt it was particularly fitting for someone who's adapted to navigating her own traps with the intent of leading a target into them. As to being a video game boss, it made sense to me to combine immortality and time travel to a fixed point in time. I believe this premise can be further refined, as it affects both the Knight and Lady Labrynth, perhaps with a reaction modifier. Skills. The big ol' axe is top priority, of course. However, it's also my understanding she was raised to learn archery. Stealth is important, as she likes to go poof from time to time. If you know who Renamon is, that's what we're looking at. That's why we have the hide in plain sight advantage. Status and wealth that comes with royalty, attractive too. I've seen just enough fan art to decide that I'd like to smell her hair, and taunt. She will parry your feeble attempts to strike her and laugh while she does it. Let's take a closer look at equipment too though. I'm obviously going to give her a bow so that skill doesn't go to waste, and the Silver Castle itself comes with personnel. I'm willing to assume can repair itself. I'm willing to assume has a means of alerting Lady Labrynth and on-site personnel that the Knight has arrived, but most importantly, the defense system. And I wish I had remembered this on my own personal character sheet, that for 1 equipment point, traps can just go off with effects worth up to twice the campaign's PL. I had to be insistent on various effects, though.